Alright, so Photoshop offers us a number of abilities in recreating and editing and doing all kinds of cool stuff. The newer versions offer us the ability to, for instance, take a 2D image and convert it over to a 3D image. And I'll show you what that looks like here. We're going to end up kind of placing a texture in this window. I'm using a planetary kind of idea concept to show you what I mean. But I've actually placed one in here where I've actually cut out some areas that don't need to be in the picture, and then actually applied this or converted this over to a 3D object. And all you got to do is select the actual layer, go to 3D, new shape from layer, and you can choose to make it any particular kind of 3D object. I'm going to use a sphere for the purposes of this actual project. Now what that'll do is create something similar to this, in which case I've actually started working on in another window. So we're going to turn it on, and I'm going to click down here in our tool palette on the 3D rotate tool. And this thing can be actually sized up if you want. There's usually a little indicator that shows how to do that. But we need to first select it, and we can turn it into a manipulator and resize it and everything like that. But for right now, we do have the tool set, so we can turn this object around. I've kind of also worked into this 3D object to show you another ability of Photoshop where you can actually paint directly on it just as you would in Photoshop anywhere else. Now I am actually utilizing the clone stamp in order to get some of these textures here to be replicated along this whole sphere. So that's really cool. You can basically utilize any of these tools here to work on this particular object, and you can also create 3D sets or work on 3D sets in the tools palette. Now all you gotta do is go over to the layer, select your actual, well, this isn't the one, select your actual 3D object, and it'll bring you to another menu or drop down menu to change maybe the lighting if you want. I can bring it up. We'll change the color here in a second once this populates to maybe a blue, or yeah, we'll take a blue for instance, and it puts a little bit of a blue on it, maybe reflected from the planet down below, which is really cool. And we can actually grab that color right there if we wanted to. There we go. And we can add that to the lighting effect. Now you can go through all these other lighting effects to change this around, and this is just one concept of utilizing the 3D tool here in Photoshop. Maybe I have some light coming down from this direction, and you can actually move those lights to where it can actually be hitting that particular side right there, which is really cool. And we also have another light, and we'll try to figure out what that one is. So we'll come down here so that we get the reflection from the planet, which is really cool. And so now you've heard my summation of utilizing the 3D tool in Photoshop.